Welcome back to Drowsy Tales Daily. Tonight I have 33 incredible stories from Reddit about home security industry frauds and protection service deceptions where dishonest security companies, alarm installers, and monitoring services deliberately betrayed homeowner trust through fake equipment, billing schemes, installation fraud, and surveillance deceptions that transformed essential home protection into costly vulnerabilities and violated consumer safety standards. Our first story comes from homeowners who uncovered their security company was installing non-functional cameras while charging for premium surveillance systems, billing for advanced video surveillance and high-definition monitoring while mounting decorative camera housings and broken equipment that provided no actual recording or security coverage despite installation agreements and surveillance procedures that guaranteed functional cameras and video monitoring according to home security standards and surveillance equipment requirements. The non-functional camera operation involved targeted surveillance fraud and equipment manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and equipment monitoring that relied on honest camera installation and functional surveillance for homeowner protection and security company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on installing expensive camera systems and surveillance networks while ensuring that equipment fraud would be concealed through false installation documentation and manipulated surveillance records that would justify camera billing despite actual equipment condition that provided no security monitoring according to security fraud concealment and homeowner surveillance deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false equipment functionality records and installation documentation while coordinating non-functional cameras with surveillance billing protocols to minimize equipment costs while concealing actual camera functionality and surveillance capability that would affect homeowner security and monitoring effectiveness based on honest security practices and functional camera delivery. The company had also been manipulating installation procedures and equipment verification processes to maintain camera fraud, while avoiding security oversight and equipment monitoring that would reveal surveillance manipulation and camera violations that violated homeowner protection and security company integrity standards. The non-functional camera fraud was discovered when burglaries occurred without video evidence and homeowners investigated camera functionality, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and surveillance manipulation that violated home security regulations and surveillance equipment standards. Our second story comes from homeowners who exposed their alarm monitoring service was billing for 24/7 protection while providing no actual emergency response, charging for continuous monitoring services and emergency dispatch while maintaining no monitoring center operations and emergency response capabilities despite monitoring agreements and response procedures that guaranteed 24/7 monitoring and emergency dispatch according to alarm monitoring standards and emergency response requirements. The phantom monitoring operation involved targeted monitoring fraud and response manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm service appearance to avoid immediate detection by monitoring oversight and response monitoring that relied on honest emergency response and continuous monitoring for homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity. The service had been particularly focused on collecting monthly monitoring fees and emergency response charges while ensuring that monitoring fraud would be concealed through false response documentation and manipulated monitoring records that would justify monitoring billing despite actual response capability that provided no emergency services according to monitoring fraud concealment and homeowner emergency deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false monitoring center records and response documentation while coordinating phantom monitoring with emergency billing protocols to maximize monitoring revenue, while concealing actual response capability and emergency services that would affect homeowner emergency protection and monitoring effectiveness based on honest monitoring practices and emergency response delivery. The service had also been manipulating monitoring procedures and response verification processes to maintain monitoring fraud while avoiding monitoring oversight and response monitoring that would reveal monitoring manipulation and emergency violations that violated homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity standards. The phantom monitoring fraud was discovered when emergencies received no response and homeowners investigated monitoring center operations, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive monitoring fraud and emergency manipulation that violated alarm monitoring regulations and emergency response standards. Our third story comes from homeowners who revealed their home security installer was using expired equipment while charging for state-of-the-art technology. Billing for cutting-edge security systems and modern technology while installing outdated equipment and expired devices despite installation agreements and technology procedures that guaranteed current technology and modern security systems, according to home security standards and equipment currency requirements. The expired equipment operation involved targeted technology fraud and equipment manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and technology monitoring that relied on honest equipment provision and current technology for homeowner protection and security installer integrity. The installer had been particularly focused on billing for advanced security technology and modern systems while ensuring that equipment fraud would be concealed through false technology documentation and manipulated equipment records that would justify technology billing despite actual equipment condition that provided expired devices according to security fraud concealment and homeowner technology deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false equipment currency records and technology documentation while coordinating expired equipment with technology billing protocols to minimize equipment costs while concealing actual equipment currency and technology effectiveness that would affect homeowner security and system performance based on honest security practices and current technology delivery. The installer had also been manipulating installation procedures and equipment verification processes to maintain technology fraud while avoiding security oversight and technology monitoring that would reveal equipment manipulation and technology violations that violated homeowner protection and security installer integrity standards. The expired equipment fraud was discovered when systems failed frequently and homeowners investigated equipment age, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and technology manipulation that violated home security regulations and equipment currency standards. Our fourth story comes from homeowners who discovered their protection service company was selling monitoring contracts while having no monitoring center operations, charging for professional monitoring services and security oversight while operating without monitoring facilities and surveillance infrastructure despite service agreements and monitoring procedures that guaranteed monitoring center operations and security oversight according to protection service standards and monitoring facility requirements. The fake monitoring operation involved targeted service fraud and facility manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate protection service appearance to avoid immediate detection by service oversight and facility monitoring that relied on honest monitoring operations and facility infrastructure for homeowner protection and protection service integrity. The company had been particularly focused on selling expensive monitoring contracts and protection services while ensuring that facility fraud would be concealed through false monitoring documentation and manipulated facility records that would justify monitoring billing despite actual monitoring operations that provided no surveillance infrastructure according to protection fraud concealment and homeowner monitoring deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false monitoring facility records and operations documentation while coordinating fake monitoring with service billing protocols to maximize contract revenue while concealing actual monitoring capability and facility operations that would affect homeowner protection and monitoring services based on honest protection practices and monitoring facility delivery. The company had also been manipulating service procedures and facility verification processes to maintain monitoring fraud, while avoiding service oversight and facility monitoring that would reveal monitoring manipulation and facility violations that violated homeowner protection and protection service integrity standards. The fake monitoring fraud was discovered when service verification failed and homeowners investigated monitoring center existence, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive protection, fraud, and monitoring manipulation that violated protection service regulations and monitoring facility standards. Our fifth story comes from homeowners who uncovered their security system provider was billing for professional installation while sending untrained technicians, charging for expert installation services and certified technician work while dispatching unqualified installers and inexperienced workers despite installation agreements and technician procedures that guaranteed certified installation and qualified technician services according to security installation standards and technician qualification requirements. The untrained technician operation involved targeted installation fraud and qualification manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security service to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and technician monitoring that relied on honest technician qualification and professional installation for homeowner protection and security system integrity. The provider had been particularly focused on billing for professional installation and certified technician services while ensuring that qualification fraud would be concealed through false technician documentation and manipulated qualification records that would justify installation billing despite actual technician qualifications that provided unqualified installation according to security fraud concealment and homeowner installation deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false technician certification records and qualification documentation while coordinating untrained technicians with professional billing protocols to minimize technician costs while concealing actual technician qualifications and installation expertise that would affect homeowner system installation and security effectiveness based on honest security practices and qualified technician delivery. The provider had also been manipulating installation procedures and technician verification processes to maintain qualification fraud while avoiding security oversight and technician monitoring that would reveal technician manipulation and qualification violations that violated homeowner protection and security system integrity standards. The untrained technician fraud was discovered when installations failed and homeowners investigated technician credentials, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and installation manipulation that violated security installation regulations and technician qualification standards. Our sixth story comes from homeowners who exposed their home alarm company was charging for backup power systems while installing decorative dummy units, billing for emergency power backup and battery systems while mounting non-functional decorative units, and fake power equipment despite alarm agreements and power procedures that guaranteed functional backup power and emergency battery systems according to home alarm standards and backup power requirements. The dummy power operation involved targeted power fraud and equipment manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm installation to avoid immediate detection by alarm oversight and power monitoring that relied on honest power backup and functional battery systems for homeowner protection and alarm company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for backup power systems and emergency battery installation while ensuring that power fraud would be concealed through false power documentation and manipulated battery records that would justify power billing despite actual power equipment that provided decorative units according to alarm fraud concealment and homeowner power deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false power system records and battery documentation while coordinating dummy units with power billing protocols to minimize power costs while concealing actual power functionality and backup capability that would affect homeowner emergency power and alarm reliability based on honest alarm practices and functional power delivery. The company had also been manipulating power procedures and battery verification processes to maintain power fraud while avoiding alarm oversight and power monitoring that would reveal power manipulation and battery violations that violated homeowner protection and alarm company integrity standards. The dummy power fraud was discovered when power outages disabled alarms and homeowners investigated backup systems, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive alarm fraud and power manipulation that violated home alarm regulations and backup power standards. Our seventh story comes from homeowners who revealed their monitoring service was billing for police dispatch while having no emergency service connections, charging for police dispatch services and emergency response coordination while maintaining no connections to law enforcement and emergency services despite monitoring agreements and dispatch procedures that guaranteed police dispatch and emergency coordination according to monitoring service standards and emergency dispatch requirements. The missing dispatch operation involved targeted dispatch fraud and emergency manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate monitoring service appearance to avoid immediate detection by monitoring oversight and dispatch monitoring that relied on honest emergency dispatch and police coordination for homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity. The service had been particularly focused on billing for emergency dispatch and police response while ensuring that dispatch fraud would be concealed through false emergency documentation and manipulated dispatch records that would justify dispatch billing, despite actual emergency capability that provided no police connections according to monitoring fraud concealment and homeowner emergency deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false dispatch connection records and emergency documentation while coordinating missing dispatch with emergency billing protocols to maximize emergency revenue while concealing actual dispatch capability in police coordination that would affect homeowner emergency response and police protection based on honest monitoring practices and emergency dispatch delivery. The service had also been manipulating dispatch procedures and emergency verification processes to maintain dispatch fraud while avoiding monitoring oversight and emergency monitoring that would reveal dispatch manipulation and emergency violations that violated homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity standards. The missing dispatch fraud was discovered when emergencies received no police response and homeowners investigated dispatch connections, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive monitoring fraud and emergency manipulation that violated monitoring service regulations and emergency dispatch standards. Our eighth story comes from homeowners who discovered their security equipment dealer was selling refurbished systems while advertising brand new installations, billing for new security equipment and fresh installations while providing used systems and refurbished components despite sales agreements and equipment procedures that guaranteed new equipment and fresh installations according to security equipment standards and product freshness requirements. The refurbished equipment operation involved targeted sales fraud and equipment manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate equipment sales to avoid immediate detection by sales oversight and equipment monitoring that relied on honest equipment condition and new product delivery for customer protection and equipment dealer integrity. The dealer had been particularly focused on selling expensive new equipment and fresh installations while ensuring that equipment fraud would be concealed through false newness documentation and manipulated equipment records that would justify new billing, despite actual equipment condition that provided refurbished systems according to sales fraud concealment and homeowner equipment deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false equipment freshness records and sales documentation while coordinating refurbished systems with new equipment billing protocols to maximize equipment profit while concealing actual equipment condition and installation freshness that would affect homeowner equipment reliability and system performance based on honest sales practices and new equipment delivery. The dealer had also been manipulating sales procedures and equipment verification processes to maintain equipment fraud while avoiding sales oversight and equipment monitoring that would reveal equipment manipulation and freshness violations that violated customer protection and equipment dealer integrity standards. The refurbished equipment fraud was discovered when systems failed prematurely and homeowners investigated equipment condition, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive sales fraud and equipment manipulation that violated security equipment regulations and product freshness standards. Our ninth story comes from homeowners who uncovered their home protection company was charging for motion detection while installing broken sensor equipment, billing for motion detection systems and movement monitoring while mounting defective sensors and malfunctioning detection equipment despite protection agreements and detection procedures that guaranteed functional motion detection and reliable movement monitoring according to home protection standards and motion detection requirements. The broken sensor operation involved targeted detection fraud and sensor manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate protection installation to avoid immediate detection by protection oversight and sensor monitoring that relied on honest motion detection and functional sensors for homeowner protection and protection company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for motion detection systems and movement monitoring while ensuring that sensor fraud would be concealed through false detection documentation and manipulated sensor records that would justify detection billing despite actual sensor condition that provided broken equipment according to protection fraud concealment and homeowner detection deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false sensor functionality records and detection documentation while coordinating broken sensors with detection billing protocols to minimize sensor costs while concealing actual sensor functionality and motion detection that would affect homeowner movement monitoring and protection effectiveness based on honest protection practices and functional sensor delivery. The company had also been manipulating detection procedures and sensor verification processes to maintain sensor fraud while avoiding protection oversight and sensor monitoring that would reveal detection manipulation and sensor violations that violated homeowner protection and protection company integrity standards. The broken sensor fraud was discovered when intruders went undetected and homeowners investigated motion detection functionality, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive protection fraud and detection manipulation that violated home protection regulations and motion detection standards. Our 10th story comes from homeowners who exposed their security service provider was billing for smartphone integration while offering non-compatible systems, charging for smartphone connectivity and mobile app integration while providing security systems incompatible with mobile devices despite service agreements and integration procedures that guaranteed smartphone compatibility and mobile app connectivity according to security service standards and smartphone integration requirements. The incompatible system operation involved targeted integration fraud and compatibility manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security service to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and integration monitoring that relied on honest smartphone compatibility and mobile connectivity for homeowner protection and security service integrity. The provider had been particularly focused on billing for smartphone integration and mobile app services while ensuring that compatibility fraud would be concealed through false integration documentation and manipulated compatibility records that would justify integration billing despite actual system compatibility that provided non-compatible systems according to security fraud concealment and homeowner integration deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false compatibility records and integration documentation while coordinating incompatible systems with integration billing protocols to maximize integration revenue while concealing actual system compatibility and smartphone connectivity that would affect homeowner mobile access and system control based on honest security practices and compatible system delivery. The provider had also been manipulating integration procedures and compatibility verification processes to maintain integration fraud while avoiding security oversight and integration monitoring that would reveal integration manipulation and compatibility violations that violated homeowner protection and security service integrity standards. The incompatible system fraud was discovered when mobile apps failed to connect and homeowners investigated smartphone compatibility, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and integration manipulation that violated security service regulations and smartphone integration standards. Our 11th story comes from homeowners who revealed their alarm company was charging for wireless systems while installing outdated hardwired technology, billing for wireless alarm systems and modern connectivity while installing old hardwired equipment and obsolete technology despite alarm agreements and technology procedures that guaranteed wireless systems and modern connectivity according to alarm company standards and wireless technology requirements. The hardwired substitution operation involved targeted technology fraud and system manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm installation to avoid immediate detection by alarm oversight and technology monitoring that relied on honest wireless installation and modern technology for homeowner protection and alarm company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for wireless systems and modern technology while ensuring that technology fraud would be concealed through false wireless documentation and manipulated technology records that would justify wireless billing despite actual technology installation that provided hardwired systems according to alarm fraud concealment and homeowner technology deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false wireless installation records and technology documentation while coordinating hardwired systems with wireless billing protocols to minimize technology costs while concealing actual system technology and wireless capability that would affect homeowner system flexibility and installation convenience based on honest alarm practices and wireless technology delivery. The company had also been manipulating installation procedures and technology verification processes to maintain technology fraud while avoiding alarm oversight and technology monitoring that would reveal technology manipulation and wireless violations that violated homeowner protection and alarm company integrity standards. The hardwired substitution fraud was discovered when systems required wiring and homeowners investigated wireless capabilities, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive alarm fraud and technology manipulation that violated alarm company regulations and wireless technology standards. Our 12th story comes from homeowners who discovered their home security firm was billing for door and window sensors while providing adhesive decorations, charging for door and window monitoring and entry detection while installing decorative stickers and fake sensors despite security agreements and sensor procedures that guaranteed functional sensors and entry detection according to home security standards and sensor monitoring requirements. The decorative sensor operation involved targeted sensor fraud and detection manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight, and sensor monitoring that relied on honest sensor installation and functional detection for homeowner protection and security firm integrity. The firm had been particularly focused on billing for door and window sensors and entry monitoring while ensuring that sensor fraud would be concealed through false sensor documentation and manipulated detection records that would justify sensor billing, despite actual sensor installation that provided decorative stickers according to security fraud concealment and homeowner sensor deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false sensor installation records and detection documentation while coordinating decorative sensors with sensor billing protocols to minimize sensor costs while concealing actual sensor functionality and entry detection that would affect homeowner entry monitoring and security coverage based on honest security practices and functional sensor delivery. The firm had also been manipulating installation procedures and sensor verification processes to maintain sensor fraud while avoiding security oversight and sensor monitoring that would reveal sensor manipulation and detection violations that violated homeowner protection and security firm integrity standards. The decorative sensor fraud was discovered when entries went undetected and homeowners investigated sensor functionality, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and sensor manipulation that violated home security regulations and sensor monitoring standards. Our 13th story comes from homeowners who uncovered their monitoring service was charging for fire detection while installing smoke alarms without monitoring connections, billing for fire monitoring services and smoke detection while installing unconnected smoke alarms and non-monitored fire detection despite monitoring agreements and fire procedures that guaranteed monitored fire detection and connected smoke alarms, according to monitoring service standards and fire detection requirements. The unmonitored fire operation involved targeted fire fraud and monitoring manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate monitoring service appearance to avoid immediate detection by monitoring oversight and fire monitoring that relied on honest fire detection and connected monitoring for homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity. The service had been particularly focused on billing for fire monitoring and smoke detection while ensuring that fire fraud would be concealed through false monitoring documentation and manipulated fire records that would justify fire billing despite actual fire detection that provided unconnected alarms according to monitoring fraud concealment and homeowner fire deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false fire monitoring records and detection documentation while coordinating unconnected alarms with fire billing protocols to minimize monitoring costs while concealing actual fire monitoring and smoke detection that would affect homeowner fire protection and emergency response based on honest monitoring practices and connected fire delivery. The service had also been manipulating fire procedures and monitoring verification processes to maintain fire fraud while avoiding monitoring oversight and fire monitoring that would reveal fire manipulation and monitoring violations that violated homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity standards. The unmonitored fire fraud was discovered when fires triggered no monitoring response and homeowners investigated fire detection connections, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive monitoring fraud and fire manipulation that violated monitoring service regulations and fire detection standards. Our 14th story comes from homeowners who exposed their security installer was billing for hidden camera systems while mounting obvious fake surveillance equipment, charging for concealed surveillance and discrete camera installation while installing obvious fake cameras and visible dummy equipment despite installation agreements and surveillance procedures that guaranteed hidden cameras and discrete surveillance according to security installation standards and concealed surveillance requirements. The obvious fake operation involved targeted surveillance fraud and concealment manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and surveillance monitoring that relied on honest concealed installation and discrete cameras for homeowner protection and security installer integrity. The installer had been particularly focused on billing for hidden surveillance and concealed cameras while ensuring that surveillance fraud would be concealed through false concealment documentation and manipulated surveillance records that would justify concealment billing despite actual surveillance installation that provided obvious fake equipment according to security fraud concealment and homeowner surveillance deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false concealment records and surveillance documentation while coordinating obvious equipment with concealment billing protocols to minimize surveillance costs while concealing actual camera concealment and surveillance discretion that would affect homeowner surveillance effectiveness and security coverage based on honest security practices and concealed surveillance delivery. The installer had also been manipulating installation procedures and surveillance verification processes to maintain surveillance fraud while avoiding security oversight and surveillance monitoring that would reveal surveillance manipulation and concealment, violations that violated homeowner protection and security installer integrity standards. The obvious fake fraud was discovered when burglars ignored cameras and homeowners investigated surveillance concealment, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and surveillance manipulation that violated security installation regulations and concealed surveillance standards. Our 15th story comes from homeowners who revealed their protection service company was charging for perimeter monitoring while installing sensors facing wrong directions, billing for perimeter detection and boundary monitoring while mounting sensors with incorrect orientation and misdirected detection despite protection agreements and monitoring procedures that guaranteed proper perimeter monitoring and correctly oriented sensors according to protection service standards and perimeter detection requirements. The misdirected sensor operation involved targeted monitoring fraud and orientation manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate protection service appearance to avoid immediate detection by protection oversight and sensor monitoring that relied on honest sensor orientation and proper perimeter detection for homeowner protection and protection service integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for perimeter monitoring and boundary detection while ensuring that orientation fraud would be concealed through false monitoring documentation and manipulated sensor records that would justify monitoring billing despite actual sensor orientation that provided misdirected detection according to protection fraud concealment and homeowner monitoring deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false sensor orientation records and monitoring documentation while coordinating misdirected sensors with monitoring billing protocols to minimize installation effort while concealing actual sensor direction and perimeter coverage that would affect homeowner boundary monitoring and protection effectiveness based on honest protection practices and proper sensor delivery. The company had also been manipulating installation procedures and sensor verification processes to maintain orientation fraud while avoiding protection oversight and sensor monitoring that would reveal orientation manipulation and monitoring violations that violated homeowner protection and protection service integrity standards. The misdirected sensor fraud was discovered when perimeter breaches went undetected and homeowners investigated sensor positioning, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive protection fraud and monitoring manipulation that violated protection service regulations and perimeter detection standards. Our 16th story comes from homeowners who discover their home alarm provider was billing for glass break detection while installing basic sound-activated devices, charging for specialized glass break detection and window monitoring while installing generic sound detectors and basic audio devices despite alarm agreements and detection procedures that guaranteed glass break detection and specialized window monitoring, according to home alarm standards and glass detection requirements. The basic sound operation involved targeted detection fraud and specialization manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm installation to avoid immediate detection by alarm oversight and detection monitoring that relied on honest glass detection and specialized monitoring for homeowner protection and alarm provider integrity. The provider had been particularly focused on billing for glass break detection and window monitoring while ensuring that detection fraud would be concealed through false specialization documentation and manipulated detection records that would justify detection billing despite actual detection equipment that provided basic sound devices according to alarm fraud concealment and homeowner detection deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false detection specialization records and monitoring documentation while coordinating basic devices with detection billing protocols to minimize detection costs while concealing actual detection capability and glass monitoring that would affect homeowner window protection and break detection based on honest alarm practices and specialized detection delivery. The provider had also been manipulating detection procedures and specialization verification processes to maintain detection fraud, while avoiding alarm oversight and detection monitoring that would reveal detection manipulation and specialization violations that violated homeowner protection and alarm provider integrity standards. The basic sound fraud was discovered when glass breaks triggered false alarms, and homeowners investigated detection specialization, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive alarm fraud and detection manipulation that violated home alarm regulations and glass detection standards. Our 17th story comes from homeowners who uncovered their security monitoring service was charging for medical emergency response while lacking medical alert capabilities. Billing for medical emergency monitoring and health alert services while maintaining no medical response capability and health monitoring infrastructure despite monitoring agreements and medical procedures that guaranteed medical emergency response and health alert monitoring according to security monitoring standards and medical response requirements. The missing medical operation involved targeted medical fraud and response manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate monitoring service appearance to avoid immediate detection by monitoring oversight and medical monitoring that relied on honest medical response and health alert capability for homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity. The service had been particularly focused on billing for medical emergency response and health monitoring while ensuring that medical fraud would be concealed through false medical documentation and manipulated response records that would justify medical billing despite actual medical capability that provided no health response according to monitoring fraud concealment and homeowner medical deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false medical response records and health documentation while coordinating missing medical with response billing protocols to maximize medical revenue while concealing actual medical capability and health response that would affect homeowner medical protection and emergency health services based on honest monitoring practices and medical response delivery. The service had also been manipulating medical procedures and response verification processes to maintain medical fraud while avoiding monitoring oversight and medical monitoring that would reveal medical manipulation and response violations that violated homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity standards. The missing medical fraud was discovered when medical emergencies received no response and homeowners investigated medical alert capabilities, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive monitoring fraud and medical manipulation that violated security monitoring regulations and medical response standards. Our 18th story comes from homeowners who exposed their home protection company was billing for carbon monoxide detection while installing expired gas sensors, charging for carbon monoxide monitoring and gas detection while installing outdated sensors and expired detection equipment despite protection agreements and detection procedures that guaranteed current carbon monoxide detection and functional gas sensors according to home protection standards and gas detection requirements. The expired sensor operation involved targeted detection fraud and sensor manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate protection installation to avoid immediate detection by protection oversight and sensor monitoring that relied on honest gas detection and current sensors for homeowner protection and protection company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for carbon monoxide detection and gas monitoring while ensuring that sensor fraud would be concealed through false detection documentation and manipulated sensor records that would justify detection billing despite actual sensor condition that provided expired equipment according to protection fraud concealment and homeowner detection deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false sensor currency records and detection documentation while coordinating expired sensors with detection billing protocols to minimize sensor costs while concealing actual sensor condition and gas detection that would affect homeowner carbon monoxide protection and gas monitoring based on honest protection practices and current sensor delivery. The company had also been manipulating detection procedures and sensor verification processes to maintain sensor fraud while avoiding protection oversight and sensor monitoring that would reveal detection manipulation and sensor violations that violated homeowner protection and protection company integrity standards. The expired sensor fraud was discovered when gas leaks went undetected and homeowners investigated sensor functionality, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive protection fraud and detection manipulation that violated home protection regulations and gas detection standards. Our 19th story comes from homeowners who revealed their security system provider was charging for remote access while offering systems without internet connectivity. Billing for remote monitoring and internet access while providing security systems lacking internet connections and remote capability despite system agreements and access procedures that guaranteed remote access and internet connectivity according to security system standards and remote monitoring requirements. The disconnected system operation involved targeted access fraud and connectivity manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and access monitoring that relied on honest internet connectivity and remote access for homeowner protection and security system integrity. The provider had been particularly focused on billing for remote access and internet monitoring while ensuring that connectivity fraud would be concealed through false access documentation and manipulated connectivity records that would justify access billing despite actual system connectivity that provided no internet capability according to security fraud concealment and homeowner access deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false connectivity records and access documentation while coordinating disconnected systems with access billing protocols to minimize connectivity costs while concealing actual internet access and remote capability that would affect homeowner remote monitoring and system control based on honest security practices and connected system delivery. The provider had also been manipulating access procedures and connectivity verification processes to maintain access fraud while avoiding security oversight and access monitoring that would reveal access manipulation and connectivity violations that violated homeowner protection and security system integrity standards. The disconnected system fraud was discovered when remote access failed and homeowners investigated internet connectivity, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and access manipulation that violated security system regulations and remote monitoring standards. Our 20th story comes from homeowners who discovered their alarm service company was billing for battery backup while installing systems prone to power failures. Charging for battery backup systems and power protection while installing equipment susceptible to power outages and electrical failures despite alarm agreements and power procedures that guaranteed battery backup and power protection according to alarm service standards and backup power requirements. The failure-prone operation involved targeted power fraud and backup manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm installation to avoid immediate detection by alarm oversight and power monitoring that relied on honest battery backup and power protection for homeowner protection and alarm service integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for battery backup and power protection while ensuring that power fraud would be concealed through false backup documentation and manipulated power records that would justify backup billing despite actual power systems that provided failure-prone equipment according to alarm fraud concealment and homeowner power deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false backup power records and protection documentation while coordinating failure-prone systems with backup billing protocols to minimize backup costs while concealing actual power protection and battery capability that would affect homeowner power backup and alarm reliability based on honest alarm practices and reliable backup delivery. The company had also been manipulating power procedures and backup verification processes to maintain power fraud while avoiding alarm oversight and power monitoring that would reveal power manipulation and backup violations that violated homeowner protection and alarm service integrity standards. The failure-prone fraud was discovered when power outages disabled alarms and homeowners investigated backup functionality, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive alarm fraud and power manipulation that violated alarm service regulations and backup power standards. Our 21st story comes from homeowners who uncovered their home security installer was charging for professional wiring while creating dangerous electrical hazards. Billing for professional electrical installation and safe wiring while creating fire hazards and electrical dangers despite installation agreements and safety procedures that guaranteed professional wiring and electrical safety according to home security standards and electrical installation requirements. The hazardous wiring operation involved targeted electrical fraud and safety manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and electrical monitoring that relied on honest electrical installation and wiring safety for homeowner protection and security installer integrity. The installer had been particularly focused on billing for professional wiring and electrical installation while ensuring that electrical fraud would be concealed through false safety documentation and manipulated wiring records that would justify electrical billing despite actual wiring installation that created electrical hazards according to security fraud concealment and homeowner electrical deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false electrical safety records and wiring documentation while coordinating hazardous wiring with electrical billing protocols to minimize installation effort while concealing actual wiring safety and electrical installation that would affect homeowner electrical safety and fire prevention based on honest security practices and safe electrical delivery. The installer had also been manipulating electrical procedures and safety verification processes to maintain electrical fraud while avoiding security oversight and electrical monitoring that would reveal electrical manipulation and safety violations that violated homeowner protection and security installer integrity standards. The hazardous wiring fraud was discovered when electrical fires occurred and homeowners investigated wiring installation, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and electrical manipulation that violated home security regulations and electrical safety standards. Our 20-second story comes from homeowners who exposed their monitoring service was billing for flood detection while installing water sensors in inappropriate locations, charging for flood monitoring and water detection while placing sensors in locations that prevented flood detection and water monitoring despite monitoring agreements and detection procedures that guaranteed proper flood detection and appropriate sensor placement according to monitoring service standards and flood detection requirements. The inappropriate placement operation involved targeted detection fraud and location manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate monitoring service appearance to avoid immediate detection by monitoring oversight and detection monitoring that relied on honest sensor placement and flood detection for homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity. The service had been particularly focused on billing for flood detection and water monitoring while ensuring that placement fraud would be concealed through false detection documentation and manipulated sensor records that would justify detection billing despite actual sensor placement that prevented flood monitoring according to monitoring fraud concealment and homeowner detection deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false sensor placement records and detection documentation while coordinating inappropriate locations with detection billing protocols to minimize installation effort while concealing actual sensor positioning and flood detection that would affect homeowner flood protection and water monitoring based on honest monitoring practices and proper placement delivery. The service had also been manipulating detection procedures and placement verification processes to maintain placement fraud while avoiding monitoring oversight and detection monitoring that would reveal placement manipulation and detection violations that violated homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity standards. The inappropriate placement fraud was discovered when floods went undetected and homeowners investigated sensor locations, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive monitoring fraud and detection manipulation that violated monitoring service regulations and flood detection standards. Our 23rd story comes from homeowners who revealed their security company was charging for night vision cameras while providing equipment that failed in darkness, billing for night vision surveillance and low-light monitoring while installing cameras incapable of dark recording and night surveillance despite security agreements and surveillance procedures that guaranteed night vision capability and dark monitoring according to security company standards and night surveillance requirements. The darkness failure operation involved targeted surveillance fraud and capability manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and surveillance monitoring that relied on honest night vision capability and dark surveillance for homeowner protection and security company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for night vision cameras and low-light surveillance while ensuring that capability fraud would be concealed through false surveillance documentation and manipulated camera records that would justify night billing despite actual camera capability that failed in darkness according to security fraud concealment and homeowner surveillance deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false night vision records and surveillance documentation while coordinating darkness failure with night billing protocols to minimize camera costs while concealing actual night capability and surveillance effectiveness that would affect homeowner night protection and dark monitoring based on honest security practices and night vision delivery. The company had also been manipulating surveillance procedures and capability verification processes to maintain surveillance fraud while avoiding security oversight and surveillance monitoring that would reveal surveillance manipulation and capability violations that violated homeowner protection and security company integrity standards. The darkness failure fraud was discovered when nighttime incidents went unrecorded and homeowners investigated camera night vision, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and surveillance manipulation that violated security company regulations and night surveillance standards. Our 24th story comes from homeowners who discovered their protection service provider was billing for zone-specific monitoring while installing single-zone basic systems, charging for multi-zone protection and zone-specific monitoring while providing basic single-zone systems and simple monitoring despite protection agreements and monitoring procedures that guaranteed zone-specific protection and multi-zone monitoring, according to protection service standards and zone monitoring requirements. The single-zone operation involved targeted monitoring fraud and zone manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate protection service appearance to avoid immediate detection by protection oversight and zone monitoring that relied on honest zone-specific monitoring and multi-zone capability for homeowner protection and protection service integrity. The provider had been particularly focused on billing for zone-specific monitoring and multi-zone protection while ensuring that zone fraud would be concealed through false monitoring documentation and manipulated zone records that would justify zone billing, despite actual monitoring systems that provided single-zone capability according to protection fraud concealment and homeowner zone deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false zone monitoring records and protection documentation while coordinating single-zone systems with zone billing protocols to minimize monitoring complexity while concealing actual zone capability and monitoring specificity that would affect homeowner zone protection and monitoring effectiveness based on honest protection practices and zone-specific delivery. The provider had also been manipulating monitoring procedures and zone verification processes to maintain zone fraud while avoiding protection oversight and zone monitoring that would reveal zone manipulation and monitoring violations that violated homeowner protection and protection service integrity standards. The single-zone fraud was discovered when zone-specific alerts failed and homeowners investigated monitoring capabilities, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive protection fraud and zone manipulation that violated protection service regulations and zone monitoring standards. Our 25th story comes from homeowners who uncovered their home alarm company was charging for pet immune sensors while installing standard motion detectors, billing for pet immune motion detection and animal-friendly sensors while installing basic motion detectors and standard movement sensors despite alarm agreements and detection procedures that guaranteed pet immune detection and animal-compatible sensors according to home alarm standards and pet immune detection requirements. The standard detector operation involved targeted detection fraud and immunity manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by alarm oversight and detection monitoring that relied on honest pet immune detection and animal compatibility for homeowner protection and alarm company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for pet immune sensors and animal-friendly detection while ensuring that immunity fraud would be concealed through false detection documentation and manipulated sensor records that would justify immunity billing despite actual detection equipment that provided standard sensors according to alarm fraud concealment and homeowner detection deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false pet immune records and detection documentation while coordinating standard detectors with immunity billing protocols to minimize sensor costs while concealing actual pet immunity and detection capability that would affect homeowner pet compatibility and motion detection based on honest alarm practices and pet immune delivery. The company had also been manipulating detection procedures and immunity verification processes to maintain detection fraud while avoiding alarm oversight and detection monitoring that would reveal detection manipulation and immunity violations that violated homeowner protection and alarm company integrity standards. The standard detector fraud was discovered when pets triggered false alarms and homeowners investigated sensor pet immunity, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive alarm fraud and detection manipulation that violated home alarm regulations and pet immune detection standards. Our 26th story comes from homeowners who exposed their security monitoring service was billing for vacation monitoring while providing no extended surveillance. Charging for vacation monitoring services and extended surveillance while offering no special monitoring or vacation protection despite monitoring agreements and vacation procedures that guaranteed vacation monitoring and extended surveillance according to security monitoring standards and vacation protection requirements. The absent vacation operation involved targeted monitoring fraud and surveillance manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate monitoring service appearance to avoid immediate detection by monitoring oversight and vacation monitoring that relied on honest vacation surveillance and extended monitoring for homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity. The service had been particularly focused on billing for vacation monitoring and extended surveillance while ensuring that vacation fraud would be concealed through false monitoring documentation and manipulated surveillance records that would justify vacation billing despite actual monitoring services that provided no vacation protection according to monitoring fraud concealment and homeowner vacation deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false vacation monitoring records and surveillance documentation while coordinating absent vacation with monitoring billing protocols to maximize vacation revenue while concealing actual vacation surveillance and extended monitoring that would affect homeowner vacation protection and monitoring services based on honest monitoring practices and vacation surveillance delivery. The service had also been manipulating vacation procedures and monitoring verification processes to maintain vacation fraud while avoiding monitoring oversight and vacation monitoring that would reveal vacation manipulation and surveillance violations that violated homeowner protection and monitoring service integrity standards. The absent vacation fraud was discovered when vacation incidents occurred without monitoring and homeowners investigated vacation surveillance, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive monitoring fraud and vacation manipulation that violated security monitoring regulations and vacation protection standards. Our 27th story comes from homeowners who revealed their home protection provider was charging for panic button systems while installing non-functional emergency devices, billing for panic button emergency systems and instant alert devices while installing broken emergency buttons and non-functional panic systems despite protection agreements and emergency procedures that guaranteed functional panic buttons and emergency alert systems according to home protection standards and emergency device requirements. The non-functional panic operation involved targeted emergency fraud and device manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate protection installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by protection oversight and emergency monitoring that relied on honest panic button functionality and emergency device operation for homeowner protection and protection provider integrity. The provider had been particularly focused on billing for panic button systems and emergency alerts while ensuring that emergency fraud would be concealed through false device documentation and manipulated panic records that would justify emergency billing despite actual emergency devices that provided non-functional systems according to protection fraud concealment and homeowner emergency deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false panic button records and emergency documentation while coordinating non-functional devices with emergency billing protocols to minimize device costs while concealing actual panic functionality and emergency capability that would affect homeowner emergency protection and alert systems based on honest protection practices and functional emergency delivery. The provider had also been manipulating emergency procedures and device verification processes to maintain emergency fraud while avoiding protection oversight and emergency monitoring that would reveal emergency manipulation and device violations that violated homeowner protection and protection provider integrity standards. The non-functional panic fraud was discovered when emergencies required panic buttons that failed and homeowners investigated emergency device functionality, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive protection fraud and emergency manipulation that violated home protection regulations and emergency device standards. Our 28th story comes from homeowners who discovered their security installer was billing for tamper-proof equipment while using easily disabled consumer-grade devices, charging for tamper-proof security systems and professional-grade equipment while installing consumer devices and easily bypass security equipment despite installation agreements and security procedures that guaranteed tamper-proof equipment and professional-grade security according to security installer standards and tamper-proof device requirements. The consumer-grade operation involved targeted security fraud and equipment manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and equipment monitoring that relied on honest tamper-proof equipment and professional-grade devices for homeowner protection and security installer integrity. The installer had been particularly focused on billing for tamper-proof systems and professional equipment while ensuring that equipment fraud would be concealed through false security documentation and manipulated device records that would justify tamper-proof billing despite actual security equipment that provided consumer-grade devices according to security fraud concealment and homeowner equipment deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false tamper-proof records and security documentation while coordinating consumer devices with tamper-proof billing protocols to minimize equipment costs while concealing actual device security and tamper resistance that would affect homeowner security protection and system integrity based on honest security practices and tamper-proof delivery. The installer had also been manipulating security procedures and equipment verification processes to maintain equipment fraud while avoiding security oversight and equipment monitoring that would reveal equipment manipulation and security violations that violated homeowner protection and security installer integrity standards. The consumer-grade fraud was discovered when systems were easily bypassed and homeowners investigated equipment tamper resistance, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and equipment manipulation that violated security installer regulations and tamper-proof device standards. Our 29th story comes from homeowners who uncovered their alarm company was charging for cellular backup while installing systems dependent on landline connections, billing for cellular backup communication and wireless connectivity while installing landline-dependent systems and phone line communication despite alarm agreements and communication procedures that guaranteed cellular backup and wireless communication according to alarm company standards and cellular backup requirements. The landline-dependent operation involved targeted communication fraud and backup manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by alarm oversight and communication monitoring that relied on honest cellular backup and wireless communication for homeowner protection and alarm company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for cellular backup and wireless communication while ensuring that communication fraud would be concealed through false backup documentation and manipulated communication records that would justify cellular billing despite actual communication systems that provided landline dependency according to alarm fraud concealment and homeowner communication deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false cellular backup records and communication documentation while coordinating landline systems with cellular billing protocols to minimize communication costs while concealing actual backup capability and wireless communication that would affect homeowner communication reliability and alarm connectivity based on honest alarm practices and cellular backup delivery. The company had also been manipulating communication procedures and backup verification processes to maintain communication fraud while avoiding alarm oversight and communication monitoring that would reveal communication manipulation and backup violations that violated homeowner protection and alarm company integrity standards. The landline-dependent fraud was discovered when phone outages disabled alarms and homeowners investigated cellular backup, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive alarm fraud and communication manipulation that violated alarm company regulations and cellular backup standards. Our 30th story comes from homeowners who exposed their home security service was billing for environmental monitoring while providing weather-vulnerable outdoor equipment, charging for environmental monitoring and weather-resistant systems while installing outdoor equipment susceptible to weather damage and environmental failure despite security agreements and environmental procedures that guaranteed weather-resistant monitoring and environmental protection according to home security standards and environmental monitoring requirements. The weather-vulnerable operation involved targeted environmental fraud and equipment manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security service appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and environmental monitoring that relied on honest weather resistance and environmental protection for homeowner protection and security service integrity. The service had been particularly focused on billing for environmental monitoring and weather-resistant systems while ensuring that environmental fraud would be concealed through false weather documentation and manipulated environmental records that would justify environmental billing despite actual equipment condition that provided weather-vulnerable systems according to security fraud concealment and homeowner environmental deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false weather resistance records and environmental documentation while coordinating vulnerable equipment with environmental billing protocols to minimize equipment costs while concealing actual weather protection and environmental monitoring that would affect homeowner environmental security and weather monitoring based on honest security practices and weather-resistant delivery. The service had also been manipulating environmental procedures and weather verification processes to maintain environmental fraud while avoiding security oversight and environmental monitoring that would reveal environmental manipulation and weather violations that violated homeowner protection and security service integrity standards. The weather-vulnerable fraud was discovered when equipment failed during storms and homeowners investigated weather resistance, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and environmental manipulation that violated home security regulations and environmental monitoring standards. Our 31st story comes from homeowners who revealed their protection monitoring company was charging for video storage while offering no cloud recording capabilities, billing for video storage services and cloud recording while providing no video storage infrastructure and recording capability despite monitoring agreements and storage procedures that guaranteed video storage and cloud recording according to protection monitoring standards and video storage requirements. The missing storage operation involved targeted storage fraud and recording manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate monitoring service appearance to avoid immediate detection by monitoring oversight and storage monitoring that relied on honest video storage and cloud recording for homeowner protection and monitoring company integrity. The company had been particularly focused on billing for video storage and cloud recording while ensuring that storage fraud would be concealed through false storage documentation and manipulated recording records that would justify storage billing despite actual storage capability that provided no recording infrastructure according to monitoring fraud concealment and homeowner storage deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false video storage records and recording documentation while coordinating missing storage with storage billing protocols to maximize storage revenue while concealing actual recording capability in video storage. That would affect homeowner video protection and recording services based on honest monitoring practices and video storage delivery. The company had also been manipulating storage procedures and recording verification processes to maintain storage fraud while avoiding monitoring oversight and storage monitoring that would reveal storage manipulation and recording violations that violated homeowner protection and monitoring company integrity standards. The missing storage fraud was discovered when video retrieval failed and homeowners investigated cloud storage capabilities, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive monitoring fraud and storage manipulation that violated protection monitoring regulations and video storage standards. Our 32nd story comes from homeowners who discovered their security system provider was billing for maintenance contracts while providing no equipment service or support, charging for maintenance services and equipment support while offering no repair services or technical support despite system agreements and maintenance procedures that guaranteed equipment maintenance and technical support according to security system standards and maintenance service requirements. The no-service operation involved targeted maintenance fraud and support manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate security installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by security oversight and maintenance monitoring that relied on honest equipment service and technical support for homeowner protection and security system integrity. The provider had been particularly focused on billing for maintenance contracts and equipment service while ensuring that maintenance fraud would be concealed through false service documentation and manipulated support records that would justify maintenance billing despite actual maintenance services that provided no equipment support according to security fraud concealment and homeowner maintenance deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false maintenance service records and support documentation while coordinating no service with maintenance billing protocols to maximize maintenance revenue while concealing actual service provision and equipment support. That would affect homeowner system maintenance and technical assistance based on honest security practices and maintenance service delivery. The provider had also been manipulating maintenance procedures and service verification processes to maintain maintenance fraud while avoiding security oversight and maintenance monitoring that would reveal maintenance manipulation and service violations that violated homeowner protection and security system integrity standards. The no-service fraud was discovered when equipment failures received no support and homeowners investigated maintenance contracts, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive security fraud and maintenance manipulation that violated security system regulations and maintenance service standards. Our 33rd story comes from homeowners who uncovered their home alarm installer was charging for expansion capabilities while installing systems that cannot accommodate additions, billing for expandable alarm systems and future upgrade capability while installing fixed systems and non-expandable equipment despite installation agreements and expansion procedures that guaranteed expandable systems and upgrade capability, according to home alarm standards and system expansion requirements. The non-expandable operation involved targeted expansion fraud and capability manipulation while maintaining enough legitimate alarm installation appearance to avoid immediate detection by alarm oversight and expansion monitoring that relied on honest expandable systems and upgrade capability for homeowner protection and alarm installer integrity. The installer had been particularly focused on billing for expandable systems and upgrade capability while ensuring that expansion fraud would be concealed through false capability documentation and manipulated expansion records that would justify expansion billing despite actual system capability that provided non-expandable equipment according to alarm fraud concealment and homeowner expansion deception techniques. The scheme extended to creating false expansion capability records and system documentation while coordinating non-expandable systems with expansion billing protocols to minimize system complexity while concealing actual expansion capability and upgrade potential that would affect homeowner system growth and alarm expansion based on honest alarm practices and expandable system delivery. The installer had also been manipulating expansion procedures and capability verification processes to maintain expansion fraud while avoiding alarm oversight and expansion monitoring that would reveal expansion manipulation and capability violations that violated homeowner protection and alarm installer integrity standards. The non-expandable fraud was discovered when expansion attempts failed and homeowners investigated system upgrade capabilities, leading to evidence that revealed comprehensive alarm fraud and expansion manipulation that violated home alarm regulations and system expansion standards. As we conclude tonight's journey through these 33 home security industry fraud stories, we're reminded that home protection and security systems, despite being essential for our safety and peace of mind, can sometimes harbor individuals who exploit trust and manipulate protection services. These tales from Reddit show us the importance of researching security companies thoroughly, verifying equipment functionality, and investigating installer credentials carefully. Whether you're purchasing alarm systems, hiring security installers, or contracting monitoring services, these stories serve as valuable reminders about protecting yourself from security industry deception. Thank you for joining me tonight on Drowsy Tales Daily, and may these stories guide you into peaceful sleep with renewed awareness of home security industry pitfalls. Sweet dreams. And I'll see you tomorrow night for another collection of fascinating Reddit stories designed to help you drift off to sleep. Until then, sleep well and dream of honest security providers and trustworthy home protection.